Once upon a time, in a small dusty village called Jumeaux, there lived a boy named Chisholm. He was just 16 years old, tall for his age, with deep brown eyes that always looked tired. Not the tiredness from sleep, but the tiredness that comes from struggling too much for too long. His skin was rough from working under the sun, and his slippers had holes big enough to let sand kiss his feet with every step. Chisholm had no father. His mother died when he was 10. After that, he moved in with his Uncle Zuby, who treated him more like a servant than family. Every morning, before the sun could rise fully, Chisholm was already on the road, carrying his black bucket filled with cold sachet water, shouting, "Pure water! Cold pure water!" It wasn't the life he wanted, but it was the life he had. That day started like any other. The heat was strong. The road was noisy. Keek drivers honked without care. People pushed and rushed like the world was ending. Chisholm stood near the motor park gate, hoping to sell at least one full bag before noon. As he was wiping sweat from his forehead, a long black SUV drove slowly past him. It didn't belong there. It was too clean, too quiet, and too smooth for a place filled with shouting conductors and sellers chasing buses. Then it stopped. The back window rolled down slowly. Inside sat a woman. A very unusual woman. She wore dark shades that covered half of her face, but even from far, you could see she was beautiful. Her skin was chocolate smooth and glowing. Her lips were full, painted wine red. Her hair was long and shiny. But what made Chisholm stare wasn't all that. It was her arms. They were muscular, strong, like the arms of a man who lifts weights every day. Her shoulders were wide, but her waist was small. She looked like someone who could carry a cow and still smile. She pointed at Chisholm. "You. Come." Chisholm looked around, confused. "Me?" "Yes, you." Her voice was calm, but firm, like a teacher calling a stubborn student. Chisholm walked slowly toward the car. His heart was beating fast. He didn't know what she wanted. Maybe she was going to report him. Maybe he was standing where he shouldn't be. When he got close, she removed her glasses. Her eyes were sharp and light brown, almost like honey. She smiled. "What's your name?" she asked. "Chisholm," he answered quietly. "You live around here?" He nodded. "Yes, madam." "Alone?" "I live with my uncle." "Where are your parents?" "My mother died. My father left when I was a baby." She looked at him for a long time. Her eyes didn't blink. She reached into her bag and brought out money, clean notes, and handed it to him. Chisholm stared at the money. 10,000 naira. His hands shook. "Madam, I didn't do anything." She smiled. "I know. That's why I'm giving you. Eat good food today. And don't sleep on the floor tonight." Before he could say thank you, the window rolled back up. The SUV drove off and disappeared into the traffic. Chisholm just stood there. His heart was still racing. That night, Uncle Zuby grabbed the money from his hand. "Where did you get this?" Chisholm told him about the woman. Uncle Zuby raised his eyebrows. "She just gave you 10,000 like that? Are you telling me the truth?" "I swear," Chisholm said. Uncle Zuby paused. Then he laughed. "Maybe your suffering face finally paid off. You better pray she comes back tomorrow." The woman came back. 2 days later. Same car. Same calm smile. This time, she didn't just give him money. She brought him a nylon bag filled with food, jollof rice, fried chicken, drinks, and cake. She also gave him a new t-shirt. Chisholm didn't know what to say. No one had ever treated him like that before. No one had ever looked at him like he mattered. She didn't say much that day. She just said, "I'll come back again soon. Don't go anywhere." When he got home, Uncle Zuby opened the food and started eating like it was his. "I like this woman," he said with his mouth full. "Did she say what she wants from you?" Chisholm shook his head. "No, nothing." Uncle Zuby grinned. "Well, if she's still this nice by next week, ask her if she wants to marry you." Chisholm choked. "Uncle." "Don't uncle me," the man said. How many women like that do you see walking around giving food and money? You think your mates are still walking around with pure water? Look at yourself. You don't even have slippers without holes. If a rich woman wants you, say yes. The next time Madame Kimi came, she didn't waste time. Chisholm, she said, do you want to leave this kind of life? He nodded. Do you trust me? He looked into her eyes. They were soft this time, almost motherly. Yes, madam. She leaned closer. Then marry me. Chisholm's mouth opened but no sound came out. She repeated slowly, marry me. I will take care of you. You won't suffer again. He looked around. The motor park was loud, dirty, hot. His shirt had sweat patches. His stomach growled. His uncle's words echoed in his head. Are you serious? Chisholm asked. Yes. He stayed silent. He didn't know what to say. He didn't understand why a woman as rich and beautiful as her would want someone like him. But he also knew that life didn't wait for people who asked too many questions. When? He finally asked. She smiled. Tomorrow. I've already made arrangements. Uncle Zuby didn't even pretend to be shocked. He clapped his hands with joy. You see what I told you? He shouted. This is God's favor. My boy, you are now the husband of a queen. You better behave yourself. But Uncle, Chisholm whispered, she's old. She's rich, Uncle Zuby snapped. And very beautiful. So keep your mouth shut and wear whatever she tells you to wear. That night, Chisholm didn't sleep well. His mind was full. He looked at the ceiling. He thought of his mother. He thought of the time he slept on a wooden bench outside because there was no space in the house. He thought of the woman's eyes, her strong arms, her deep voice. It didn't feel real, but it was happening. The wedding was the next day. No friends, no music, no family from her side. Only two men in black suits that stood at the door like statues. Madame Kimi wore a long golden gown that showed her wide shoulders. Her arms looked like they could crush stones. Chisholm wore a grey suit that she bought. It was too big at the sleeves, but it still made him feel like someone new. When the registry man asked, do you take this woman as your lawful wife? Chisholm paused for 2 seconds before saying yes. After the papers were signed, Madame Kimi looked at him with a soft smile. You belong to me now, she said quietly. Chisholm forced a smile and nodded. But something deep inside him felt cold. They drove to her house after the wedding. It wasn't a house. It was a mansion. Tall gates. Long driveway. Walls so white they almost shined. Inside, the floor was so clean that Chisholm was afraid to step on it. She gave him a full room with a bed that could fit 4 people. A big flat-screen TV. A new phone. A fridge with drinks and snacks. He just stood there, speechless. I want you to rest, she said. Eat, sleep, and enjoy. No one will shout at you again. No one will beat you. You're safe here. Chisholm nodded. She touched his face lightly. Her fingers were warm. You don't have to sleep in my room yet. You're still young. I'll wait. She walked out, closing the door gently. Chisholm sat on the edge of the bed. Everything felt perfect. But something still didn't feel right. He looked at the mirror across the room and stared at himself. He didn't know if he had just entered paradise. Or a cage. Chisholm didn't wake up to the sound of a rooster or his uncle shouting his name. He woke up to silence. Soft, cold air kissed his skin. The mattress under him was thick like a sponge. He looked around the room. Shiny walls, white ceiling, big wardrobe, a mini-fridge, and curtains that moved slowly with the breeze from a standing air conditioner. He sat up. So it wasn't a dream. He was married. To a woman 4 times his age. A woman with arms like a boxer. A woman with a voice that could freeze you and eyes that looked straight into your soul. Chisholm, he whispered to himself. What have you done? There was a knock at the door. He jumped. The door opened slowly, and Madame Kimi stepped in. She wore a white silk robe that hugged her strong body. Her hair was brushed back. Her skin glowed. Her eyes were calm, like someone who had already planned 10 steps ahead. Good morning, husband, she said with a smile. Chisholm stood up quickly. Good morning, Ma. Good morning. You slept well? He nodded. Yes, Ma, yes. She chuckled. Don't worry. You'll get used to it. She walked over to him. Breakfast is ready. Come downstairs when you're done freshening up. I asked the cook to make fried yam and egg sauce. I also got pap, just in case you prefer that. Chisholm was quiet. She reached out and touched his face gently. Her hands were warm but heavy. I know it's all strange, but you're safe. I don't want you to feel scared around me. He nodded again, forcing a small smile. Good, she said, walking to the door. You're my husband now. You deserve everything good. Then she left. Downstairs, the dining table looked like a feast. 4 big plates of fried yam, 2 bowls of pap, 1 large jug of orange juice, a loaf of bread, even fresh fruits cut into perfect shapes. Chisholm stared at everything like he was in a hotel. He sat down slowly, not sure if he was even allowed to touch anything. Madame Kimi walked in wearing gym clothes, a tight black top that showed her arms and matching leggings. She looked like she was going for a workout, not like a newlywed. Eat, she said. I don't like people starving in my house. He picked a piece of yam and bit into it. It was soft. The pepper in the egg sauce was perfect. He didn't know food could taste that good. She sat across from him, sipping juice through a straw. You're a quiet one, she said. He wiped his mouth. I'm just not used to this. To what? Food, bed, all this peace. She smiled. You'll get used to it. That's why I chose you. Chisholm looked up. Chose me? Why me? She leaned forward. Because you're different. Most boys your age are loud, full of pride. But you're quiet. You've suffered. And you carry pain in your eyes. He looked away. You don't need to talk about it, she said softly. I've seen it. I know it. There was silence between them for a while. Then she stood. I'm going to the gym room. Join me later if you want to stretch your body. He blinked. You have a gym room? She smiled. A full one. I live by discipline. And now, so will you. Then she walked out, her muscles moving smoothly as she went. Later that day, Chisholm wandered through the house. It was bigger than he had thought. Every room was painted in cool colors. The floors were so clean, you could see your reflection. He passed the kitchen. 3 women were inside cooking something. They didn't speak to him. They only bowed slightly and continued working. He found the gym room. It looked like something from a movie. Treadmills, weight benches, dumbbells, punching bags. And in the middle of it, Madame Kimi was lifting a barbell with heavy plates on both sides. Her arms bulged. Her neck veins stood. Her face was calm, focused. Chisholm stepped back quietly and walked away. He didn't want to disturb her, or annoy her, or make her angry. That evening, he sat in his room staring at his new phone. He didn't know what to do with it. He hadn't called anyone in months. He had no social media, no friends to chat with. He decided to call Obinna, his only real friend from the village. Hello. Obinna answered after the second ring. Obinna, it's me, Chisholm. Guy, where have you been? Your uncle said you got married. Married? Is he mad? Chisholm chuckled softly. It's true. I did. You're joking. I'm not. To who? Chisholm paused. A woman. Obviously. But who is she? Her name is Kimi. She's rich. She saved me. Silence on the other side. She's 60, Chisholm added. What? Bro, are you possessed? It's not like that. She's nice. She takes care of me. I have my own room, my own phone, food, clothes. Chisholm, listen to me, Obinna said, his voice now low and serious. This doesn't sound right. Something is wrong. People don't just marry street boys like that unless they want something. I thought the same, Chisholm said, but she hasn't done anything to hurt me. Not yet. Chisholm's heart skipped. Obinna continued. Just be careful. Don't eat too deep. Don't sleep too hard. And if you ever feel something is off, leave. Promise me. I promise. They said goodbye, and Chisholm sat for a long time, just thinking. The next morning, he woke up to a new set of clothes placed neatly at the foot of his bed. White trousers, a clean blue shirt, and expensive-looking sandals. He got dressed and went downstairs. Madame Kimi was waiting in the living room. "We're going out," she said. "Where to?" "To get your ID changed. And your account opened. You're my husband. I want your name on everything." The SUV was already parked outside. The same black one that brought her to the motor park. A driver stood beside it, waiting. They drove to the city. Government offices. Banks. Everywhere they went, people stared. Some whispered. Some just stood still, shocked. Nobody asked questions directly, but you could see it in their eyes. What is this small boy doing with this giant woman? At the bank, she held his hand tightly. "Don't talk unless I tell you to," she whispered with a smile. Chisholm nodded. When they sat with the bank manager, Madame Kimi smiled sweetly. "This is my husband," she said. "I want to open a joint account." The manager's eyes nearly popped out. "Your husband? Is there a problem?" "No, no, no. Not at all." By the end of the day, Chisholm had a new ID, a new account, and a new phone line registered under her name. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept tossing and turning. Something felt heavy in his chest. Like a rock. He stood up and walked to the mirror again. His eyes looked different. Not tired, but confused. He touched his face. "Who are you now?" he asked himself. Suddenly, he heard a soft sound from the hallway. Like a door closing. He opened his door slightly and peeped out. He saw Madame Kimi walking slowly down the hallway. She was barefoot. Her long black robe floated around her like smoke. Her back muscles moved as she walked. She stopped at the last room on the left, pulled out a key from her robe, unlocked the door, and entered. The hallway went quiet again. Chisholm closed his door gently. His hands were shaking. He didn't know why. He sat back on the bed. What was in that room? Why did she lock it? And why did she only go there at night? The next morning, Chisholm acted like nothing happened. He ate breakfast, smiled politely, thanked her for the clothes. But his mind was somewhere else. He had to know what was in that room. He had to find out. Because no matter how good the food was, or how soft the bed felt, something deep inside him was whispering, "You don't belong here." The air inside the mansion felt colder that night. Chisholm lay on the bed, his eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. He had eaten rice and fried fish for dinner, the kind of food he only used to dream of. But his stomach wasn't the reason he couldn't sleep. It was the hallway. It was that strange door at the end. It was the way Madame Kimi walked into it late at night, barefoot, silent, like a shadow moving through the dark. Chisholm sat up. He looked at the clock. It was 1:12 a.m. He stood, tiptoed to the door, and opened it slowly. The hallway lights were dim, but bright enough to see. Everything was quiet. No sound of TV, no footsteps, no voices. He walked out and tiptoed toward the end of the hall. His heart beat faster with every step. He stopped in front of the door. It was black, tall, and had carvings on it that looked like tiny snakes, birds, and strange shapes. Chisholm reached out and touched the handle. It was cold. He turned it. Locked. He bent down to peek through the keyhole, but it was too dark inside. Nothing showed. Then he heard a soft clicking sound. He jumped back. The door next to the hallway creaked open. It was Madame Kimi's room. He ran back to his own door and closed it fast, holding his breath. Seconds later, he heard footsteps. Slow. Heavy. They passed his room. They kept going. Then silence again. He waited for 10 minutes before letting out the breath he was holding. He wiped sweat from his forehead. His hands were cold. Whatever was inside that room, it wasn't normal. The next morning, Chisholm sat at the dining table, but he couldn't eat. His spoon just kept moving through the beans on his plate. Madame Kimi walked in wearing a red dress and gold earrings. Her arms were shiny with oil, her hair pulled into a bun. She looked beautiful, strong, unshakable. "You're not eating," she said, sitting down. "I'm not too hungry," Chisholm replied. She raised an eyebrow. "Are you sick?" "No. I just didn't sleep well." "Bad dreams?" He looked at her face carefully. Was she testing him? "Yeah," he answered. "Bad dreams." She smiled. "Dreams mean nothing. The past tries to scare us sometimes, but we must ignore it." He nodded slowly, pretending to agree. But deep inside, he knew this was not just about dreams. Later that day, he called Obinna again. "Obinna, I need to tell you something," Chisholm whispered, walking far into the backyard where no one could hear him. "What is it?" Obinna asked. "There's a locked room in this house. She goes there every night." "Does she keep anything inside?" "I don't know, but there are carvings on the door, and she always locks it. She only enters late at night." There was a pause. "Bro," Obinna said, "this is bad. Have you tried to open it?" "Yes. It's locked." "Then you need to get out of there." "I can't. The gate is locked every night, and her bodyguards are always around during the day." Obinna's voice became firm. "Then find out what's inside that room. You need to know who you married." That evening, Chisholm went downstairs and walked past the black door again. He touched it softly, careful not to make a sound. "Still locked," he whispered. Suddenly, a voice behind him said, "Looking for something." He turned around quickly. Madame Kimi stood there, wearing a long black gown. Her eyes didn't blink. Her arms were folded. "I was just looking around," Chisholm said, trying to smile. She didn't smile back. "This part of the house is private," she said quietly. "Never come here again unless I ask you to." He nodded quickly. "Okay, I'm sorry." She stepped closer and stared into his eyes. "You're my husband now, Chisholm. That means you must trust me." "I do," he whispered. "Good," she said, then turned around and walked away. He stood there for a few seconds before running back to his room. That night, the air felt heavier. It was harder to breathe. Chisholm stayed up again. He listened. At exactly 1 a.m., he heard it. Click. Her door opened. Steps. Slow. Barefoot. Powerful. He opened his door just a little. Enough to peek through. She passed by, her black robe brushing the floor behind her. Her hair was loose. Her back muscles moved with each step. She was humming softly, something like a lullaby. He watched her unlock the black door and go inside. Then the door closed, and a dim red light glowed from under it. Chisholm's heart thudded in his chest. The next morning, he went to the kitchen and found the cook, a woman named Mama Tina. She was short and round, always humming when she cooked. "Good morning, Ma," Chisholm greeted. She smiled. "Good morning, sir." "Can I ask you something?" he said softly. She stopped chopping onions and looked up. "What is inside that last room at the end of the hallway?" he asked. Mama Tina's hands froze. Then she looked around and whispered, "Don't ask questions you don't want answers to." "What do you mean?" She leaned closer. "Just enjoy your food. Sleep well. And don't walk around at night." Then she turned and walked away. That day, Chisholm stayed in his room thinking. He looked at the window. He looked at the door. He looked at the floor. He picked up his phone and called Obinna again. "Obinna, I think she's hiding something evil." "I told you," Obinna said. "People don't just pick random boys and marry them. Did you see what's inside the room?" "No, but there's red light coming from it when she enters at night. And today, the cook warned me to stop asking." There was silence. "Listen to me," Obinna said. "If you can't escape, then you need proof. Something that tells you what she's doing. Then run." Chisholm looked at the time. 4:17 p.m. The guards would soon start locking the gates. He had to be smart, careful, fast. He had to get that key. That night, he pretended to be asleep. He turned off the lights, pulled the blanket up, left the door unlocked. At exactly 1 a.m., he heard her door open. He opened his eyes just a bit. She passed by. Her robe, her footsteps, her humming. He waited until she closed the black door. Then he stood up. Barefoot, he walked slowly to her room. He pushed the door gently. It opened. The room was huge, bigger than his. Dark purple walls, tall mirrors, a shelf full of perfumes and oils. And on the table, her keys. He picked them, ran back to the hallway. His fingers shook as he fit the key into the lock. Click. The door opened. Red light filled his eyes. He stepped in. The air was hot, thick. The walls were covered with red cloth. On the floor were symbols drawn in chalk. There were candles everywhere, some burning, some already melted. In the center of the room was a table, and on the table were photos. Hundreds of them. Photos of boys. Boys his age. Some were smiling. Some looked scared. And right in the middle, his photo. Fresh, clean, new. A candle burned in front of it. Chisholm froze. Then his eyes moved to the shelf beside the table. There were bottles filled with dark liquids. Charms. Feathers. Small calabashes. He stepped back. Then he saw something else. A small clay statue of a young boy, tied with red thread. He turned to run. But someone was standing at the door. Madame Kimi. Her eyes were no longer soft. They were glowing. Red. Chisholm froze. His legs refused to move. His breath caught in his throat. The candlelight inside the strange red room flickered, casting shadows on the walls. Shadows that danced like spirits. Madame Kimi stood at the door, staring at him. But her eyes, those warm honey eyes that once smiled at him, were now glowing red. Not like a reflection or from the candlelight. They were actually glowing, like fire lived behind them. She stepped into the room slowly, closing the door behind her without a sound. "You opened the door," she said quietly. Chisholm took one step back. I just... You entered the room I told you never to touch." Her voice was still soft, but it felt sharp, like something was hiding behind it. "I didn't mean to. I was just..." She walked closer, her robe dragging along the floor. "You were just curious?" she asked. Chisholm nodded quickly. "Yes. I swear. I didn't take anything." She stopped walking. Her eyes stared straight into his. Her face was calm, too calm. "What did you see?" she asked. Chisholm hesitated. He didn't know if he should lie or tell the truth. She asked again, slower this time. "What did you see, Chisholm?" "I saw the photos," he whispered. Her lips pressed together. "And..." He swallowed hard. "I saw my picture. I saw candles. And charms." Silence. Then she looked away and let out a long, slow breath. Chisholm thought maybe she was calming down. Maybe she would forgive him. Maybe everything would go back to normal. But then she said something that made his skin crawl. "You weren't supposed to see all that," she said. Then she raised one hand. The candle flames in the room suddenly grew taller, flickering wildly. Chisholm gasped. "Please," he said. "I didn't mean to do anything bad. I got scared. I had to know what's going on." She looked at him again. This time, there was something new in her eyes. Not just anger. Pain. "You think I'm a monster, don't you?" she asked. "I don't know what to think," Chisholm answered honestly. She stepped forward again. He didn't move. "I didn't choose this life," she said, her voice now shaking slightly. "I was once like you. Young. Normal. Poor." Chisholm blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" She turned away and faced the clay statue on the table. "When I was a little girl, a stranger came to our village. He said he had power to change people's lives. He offered my family riches. My parents agreed, but they didn't read the fine print. They gave me up for the deal." Chisholm listened, his heart still racing. I was taken away, trained, changed. I was made into something not fully human anymore. In return, I got strength, beauty, wealth, but the curse never left. She looked back at him. Every few years, I must marry a boy with a pure heart. I must place his soul on this altar and take a part of his youth, or I lose everything. My skin will rot. My bones will break. I will fade. Chisholm's mouth fell open. You mean, you were going to use me? She didn't answer. Tears filled his eyes. You were kind to me. You gave me food, clothes. You saved me from the street. Was all of that just to trick me? She looked away again. I didn't plan to care, but I did. I saw something in your eyes. Something I hadn't seen in a long time. Then stop it, he shouted. Break the curse. She smiled sadly. It doesn't work like that. Chisholm turned toward the door. I'm leaving. It's locked, she said without turning around. I'll break it. She still didn't move. If you do, the guards will catch you. They're not just guards. They're part of this house. They belong to me. Chisholm turned slowly to face her. Why me? Why did you choose me? She touched the photo on the altar. Because you had nothing. No one would come looking for you. No one would miss you. Those words hit him like a slap. He felt something in his chest break. Not just fear. Not just sadness. But something deeper. A sense of being thrown away. You lied to me, he said quietly. Yes, she replied. But I also meant it when I said you were special. Chisholm stepped forward. Let me go. She looked at him. I can't. He stared at her. Then I'll make you. She raised an eyebrow. You think you can fight me? No, he said. But I'll try. She laughed softly. Not mocking. Just sad. You're brave, she said. I admire that. Chisholm didn't answer. His hands were shaking. Madame Kimi reached into a box beside the altar and pulled out a small object wrapped in black cloth. This was made for you, she said. It's the final piece of the ritual. I wasn't supposed to use it until the 7th day. She looked at him again. It's only day 4. Chisholm's eyes narrowed. Then don't use it. End it now. Her voice cracked. If I do, I'll die. Chisholm stepped closer. Then maybe it's time. She didn't reply. For a long time, the room was quiet. Only the candles made noise, their flames crackling like dry leaves. Then she turned around and placed the object back in the box. I need time to think, she whispered. Chisholm walked past her carefully and opened the door. It wasn't locked anymore. He stepped into the hallway. Before he could leave, she said one last thing. If you try to run, Chisholm, I won't stop you. He turned around. What does that mean? It means, I hope you don't. He went straight to his room and shut the door. He locked it, sat on the floor, hugged his knees. His heart was beating fast. His mind was spinning. Everything was broken. This wasn't a marriage. This was a trap. He looked at the phone on the table. He picked it up and called Obinna again. Obinna, he said, his voice shaking. What happened? I saw it. Everything. She's not normal. She's been doing this to boys for years. Bro, where are you right now? In my room. She said I can run if I want to. Then do it. I'm scared. She said the guards will stop me, that they belong to her. Then you need help. You need someone who knows this kind of thing. Like, a native doctor or something. Chisholm nodded. There's an old woman in my village. Mema Agatha. She's a herbalist. People say she sees things. Go to her. Now. Chisholm looked at the time. It was 4:45 a.m. The guards would change shifts at sunrise. If he moved fast, he might escape. He waited. At 6 a.m., he packed a few clothes in a nylon bag. He wore simple slippers. He didn't touch the food in the kitchen. He walked out quietly. At the gate, the guard was half asleep. Chisholm smiled at him. Good morning, sir. The guard nodded, yawning. "You're going out this early?" "I want to buy something at the junction." The man nodded again and pressed the button. The gate slid open. Chisholm stepped outside. His heart jumped. He was free. He didn't look back. He took the next bus to his village. The journey was long. His hands were sweaty. His eyes refused to close. Each time the bus slowed down, he thought someone was coming for him. By the time he reached Jumeaux, it was almost evening. He went straight to Mama Agatha's compound. The old woman was sitting on a mat, chewing bitter cola. She looked up. "Chisholm." He nodded quickly. "Mama, I need help." She squinted at him. "You married the woman with big muscles, didn't you?" His eyes widened. "How did you know?" She stood up slowly. "I told your uncle not to let you go, but he likes money more than wisdom." Chisholm dropped to his knees. "Mama, she's not normal. She does rituals. She has my photo on an altar. I saw it with my own eyes." Mama Agatha's face turned serious. "She's Nwani Chakimi," she said. "I've heard of her. She's not a woman. She's something else. Something old. Can you help me?" She nodded. "If you want to stop her, you'll need to do exactly what I say." Chisholm looked up, desperate. "Anything." She pointed to a bottle hanging from her window. "I'll give you a charm. It will confuse her. But it will only work if you pretend like you know nothing. Act like you forgive her. Act like you still love her." "I can do that," Chisholm said. "Then return before the 7th night," she warned. "If she completes that ritual, you won't leave alive." Chisholm left Mama Agatha's compound just as the sun was going down. The sky had turned orange, and the birds were flying low, looking for places to sleep. His heart was pounding. In his pocket was a small charm wrapped in black cloth. Mama Agatha said he must keep it close to his skin, or it wouldn't work. "Don't open it," she warned before he left. "Don't smell it. Don't shake it. Just keep it on you until the 7th night." Chisholm had asked her, "Will it stop her from doing the ritual?" Mama Agatha looked at him closely. "No, but it will slow her. And when she tries to complete it, the charm will fight back. That's your only chance to survive." He didn't understand how it would work, but he didn't argue. Right now, he needed something, anything, to protect him. He boarded a small bus back to the city, hiding his face as much as he could. The roads were rough, and his mind was full of fear. What if Madame Kimi had sent someone to follow him? What if the guards were already waiting for him back at the mansion? But the worst question of all came when he remembered what she told him in the Red Room. "If I don't complete the ritual, I'll fade." Fade. What did that mean? Would she die? Would she turn into something else? Or had she already lived far longer than she should have? By the time he reached the city, it was past midnight. The gate to the mansion was closed, but he knocked gently. The same guard from before opened it. He didn't even ask where Chisholm had gone. "You're back?" the guard asked. Chisholm nodded. "I had to clear my head." The guard waved him in. "Go and rest. Madam has been quiet all day." That made Chisholm nervous. He entered the mansion slowly. The lights were off in the hallway. The house felt colder than before. He tiptoed past the black door at the end of the corridor. It was closed. He didn't dare touch it. When he entered his room, he locked the door, placed a chair against it, and sat on the bed with the charm still in his pocket. The silence in the mansion made it hard to sleep. Every sound, every creak, every whistle of wind, made him jump. At 2 a.m., he heard footsteps, but they didn't stop outside his door. They kept walking down the hall, toward the Red Room, and then he heard it, the key turning, the door creaking open, and the soft hum of Madame Kimi's voice. She was preparing again. Even after everything, she was still going to do it. The next morning, Chisholm acted like nothing had happened. He took a bath, brushed his teeth, and wore the clean clothes she had once given him. When he came downstairs, she was sitting on the couch, wearing a tight white jumpsuit. Her hair was neatly braided. Her face was calm, almost too calm. "Good morning," she said. "Good morning," he replied, trying to sound relaxed. "Come sit." He sat on the chair across from her. There was silence. Then she asked, "Did you go home?" He nodded. "Yes." "You miss your village?" "A little." She looked at him for a long time. "Are you scared of me now?" He paused. "No." "Are you lying?" He looked down. "No." "Look at me," she said gently. He looked up. "I told you the truth," she said. "I didn't want to use you, but I have no choice. If I don't, I will be destroyed." "Why me?" he asked again. "You could have picked anyone." "Because you remind me of who I used to be," she said. He frowned. "You said you were once like me." She nodded. "Yes." "How long ago was that?" She smiled sadly. 144 years ago. Chisholm blinked. "What?" "I was born in 1865, she said. "My name wasn't Kimi back then. It was Adiz. I lived in a small village, deep inside the forest. My parents were poor. They made a deal with a spirit to escape poverty, and they paid with me." Chisholm couldn't speak. His mouth felt dry. "I became something not fully human. Not fully spirit. A mix. I stopped aging. My muscles grew stronger. My body stopped dying. But the price was clear. I had to keep myself young using human life. Every few years, I must drain the youth of someone who has not yet been touched by the world." She looked directly into his eyes. "You were perfect." Chisholm stood up slowly. "So, you're not 60? "No," she whispered. "I'm 160. He backed away, shaking his head. "All this time, you pretended. You acted like you cared." "I did care," she shouted, standing too. "That's the worst part. I didn't plan to feel anything. But I did. When I saw how kind you were, how quiet, how soft. I didn't want to hurt you." "Then stop." Chisholm yelled. "Let me go. Let this end." "I can't," she screamed. "If I break the ritual, I'll crumble. My skin will peel. My body will break into ash. I've seen it happen to others like me. It's slow. It's painful." She stepped closer. "But if I complete it, I'll stay young. I'll live longer. I'll be strong again." Chisholm stepped back. "So it's me or you." Her hands shook. "I don't want it to be like this." "Then choose," he cried. "Choose to stop." She dropped her arms. Then she said something soft. "I already started the ritual. It's too late." He stared at her, his chest tight. "What do you mean?" "I placed your soul on the altar last night. I whispered your name. You have only 2 nights left. After that, the ritual will seal. You won't feel pain. You'll just fall asleep and never wake up." Chisholm couldn't breathe. "You're going to kill me." She looked at the floor. "I'll make sure you don't feel a thing." He turned and ran. She didn't stop him. He ran to his room, locked the door, and cried. Real tears. Not from fear, but from betrayal. That night, he didn't sleep. He kept the charm close to his chest. At 1 a.m., he heard her again, opening the black door, whispering his name. He felt cold, like something was pulling his spirit away. But then the charm burned hot in his hand, and the feeling stopped. He breathed hard, holding the cloth tightly. In the morning, he visited Mama Tina in the kitchen. She was cutting vegetables. She looked tired. "Mama," Chisholm said. She looked up. "Yes, my dear. Why do you still work for her?" She looked around and spoke in a whisper. "Because I made the same mistake you did." Chisholm frowned. "What do you mean?" "I once lived in a poor village. She came, took me in, promised me life. I was supposed to be her next sacrifice. But she changed her mind. She said I reminded her of her younger sister." Chisholm's eyes widened. "She spared you?" "Yes," Mama Tina said. "But only if I stayed silent and served her. I cook for her, clean for her. But I can't leave. If I do, The spell she placed on me will kill me. Do you know how to stop her? She looked at him sadly. No one has ever stopped her. They only die quietly. Chisholm took a deep breath. Not this time. That evening, Chisholm sat at the dinner table again. Madame Kimi sat across from him, dressed in a dark blue gown. She looked tired, but still powerful. You didn't eat yesterday, she said. I wasn't hungry. I'm sorry, she said. He looked at her. For what? For picking you. He put down his spoon. You still have time to stop. She shook her head. I've come too far. I'll fight, he said. I know, she replied. That's why I'm giving you tomorrow. Just tomorrow. To do whatever you want. Go out. Call anyone. Say goodbye. Then come back. He stared at her. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to feel peace before it ends. He stood up. I won't come back. You will, she said quietly. The charm you're holding has limits. After tomorrow night, it won't work anymore. Chisholm froze. She smiled gently. Mama Agatha tried her best. But even she can't stop time. That night, Chisholm made a plan. He would return to Mama Agatha. He would ask her what to do on the final night. He would find a way to trick Madame Kimi. Or stop her. Or escape. He didn't care how. He would not die for someone else's curse. Chisholm didn't wait for the sun to rise before packing a small bag again. His eyes were red from staying awake. His hands were shaking, but his mind was clear. This was his only chance. He slipped out through the back door of the mansion just before 6 a.m. The guard at the gate didn't notice him leave. Or maybe the guard just looked away on purpose. Chisholm didn't care. He jumped on the first bus heading toward the village. He didn't look back. By 8:30 a.m., he was kneeling again in front of Mama Agatha. The old woman looked worried the moment she saw his face. Day 6, she muttered. You're lucky your legs didn't give out on the way. Chisholm didn't wait for greetings. Mama, she knows. She knows I have the charm. Mama Agatha shook her head slowly. I told you. Women like her can feel it. She's older than all of us. She knows things without seeing. She said the charm won't work after tomorrow night, Chisholm said. Is that true? Yes, the old woman replied. The charm was made to delay her powers, not kill them. It's like holding a wild animal with a weak rope. The rope will snap if you pull for too long. Chisholm's throat tightened. Then what do I do? She gave me one more day to do whatever I want. After that, she'll finish the ritual. Mama Agatha stared into his eyes. Do you still want to stop her? I don't want to die, Chisholm said. But I don't want her to die either. She already died long ago, Mama Agatha said, picking up a bottle of palm oil. What lives now is a shadow. Chisholm blinked. You mean, she's not human anymore? She's a woman on the outside, the old woman said, pouring the oil into a small bowl. But inside her lives something else. Something older than time. What do I do, Mama? She reached into her wrapper and pulled out a small red stone. This is a decoy charm, she said. When she tries to finish the ritual, drop this stone on the altar. It will confuse her spirit. Then, do what must be done. Chisholm frowned. What must be done? Mama Agatha looked him in the eyes. Break the altar. With your own hands. What happens after that? She will try to stop you. Her beauty will change. Her voice will change. She may beg. She may scream. But no matter what, don't stop. Chisholm stared at the red stone. His heart pounded. Will I survive it? He asked. Mama Agatha didn't answer. She just looked at him with sad eyes. When he got back to the city that evening, the mansion was quiet. Too quiet. The gates opened slowly as he stepped in. No questions. No greetings. Even the cook, Mama Tina, wasn't in the kitchen. It felt like the whole house was holding its breath. He walked through the hallway and headed straight to his room. The door was open. On the bed, he saw something that made his hands go cold. A new photo of him. framed, placed carefully on the pillow. Beside it, a white cloth folded in a perfect square. And on top of the cloth, a note. "Wear this tomorrow night." His throat dried. The cloth was not ordinary. It was made of white silk, with gold edges. It looked like something worn for a special ceremony, or a sacrifice. He sat down slowly, staring at the note. She wasn't hiding it anymore. She knew he knew, and she didn't care. That night, he didn't lock his door. He just lay there, holding the charm close. At 1:03 a.m., the hallway grew cold. He heard her steps, but this time, she didn't go to the red room. She stopped at his door. He didn't move. She didn't knock. She just stood there. Then he heard her voice, soft, low, painful. "I didn't want this, Chisholm." He said nothing. "I really didn't want this." Still, he stayed silent. "I could have picked anyone," she said. "But I picked you. I thought I was strong enough to stop." He squeezed the charm tighter. "But I'm not," she whispered. Then she walked away. He waited till her steps faded. Then he opened his eyes. And cried. The next morning, Madame Kimi was already seated at the breakfast table when he came downstairs. She looked calm. Her dress was deep red. Her eyes were no longer glowing, but they still held something dark. "You're back," she said. "I had to clear my head," he replied. "I understand." She pointed to the food in front of him. "Eat." He sat down, touched the spoon, then pushed the plate aside. She watched him. "I'm not going to run," he said. "I know. But I won't let you win either." She nodded slowly. "That's fair." There was silence between them. Then she asked, "Do you still hate me?" He shook his head. "I don't know what I feel anymore." She looked down at her hands. "I've lived a long time, seen so many things, watched the world change, watched people I love grow old and die, watched myself stay the same." She looked up. "But I've never been as tired as I am now." Chisholm said nothing. She smiled sadly. "You remind me of my younger brother. His name was Ikenna. He used to carry water on his head every morning, just like you did." "What happened to him?" Chisholm asked quietly. "He died before I turned 20. "I'm sorry." She nodded slowly. "I used to dream about him, but not anymore. Even my dreams have grown old." That evening, she brought out the silk cloth again. "This is for tonight," she said. "I need you to wear it before midnight." Chisholm took it silently. Then she said, "You can still leave. But if you do, I'll come after you. Not because I want to, but because I'll lose control." He looked at her. "Then don't let yourself lose." Her hands trembled. "It's not that easy." He nodded slowly. "Nothing is." By 11:50 p.m., he wore the cloth. He tucked the charm inside his waistband. He tucked the red stone Mama Agatha gave him inside his palm. And he stepped out of the room. The hallway lights were off, but candles lined the floor. He followed them. They led him to the red room. The door was open. She was waiting inside, dressed in gold. Her body glowed. Her eyes were soft again, but her face was unreadable. "Come," she said gently. He stepped in. The candles flickered as he entered. The altar had changed. His photo now stood at the very center. New drawings were made on the floor. She stretched out her hand. He took it. She led him to the center. Then she whispered, "Sit." He sat cross-legged, just like she showed him. She began to hum again. Slow, deep, soft. Then she opened her eyes and picked up the final piece. A small knife made from bone. Chisholm's heart raced. She stepped closer. He tightened his fist around the red stone. She lifted the knife. Chisholm shouted, "Now!" And through the stone at the altar, a loud crack filled the room. The candles flickered. Madame Kimi screamed, dropping the knife. Chisholm rushed to the altar and grabbed his photo. He tore it in half. Then again. And again. The flames burst. The air turned hot. She fell to the ground, shaking. "No! No! Please!" she screamed. Her skin started changing, cracking like dry leaves. Her muscles softened. Her voice deepened. "Chisholm!" she cried. "Stop! Please! I don't want to die!" He stepped back, watching in horror. Her hair turned white. Her face began to melt. "Help me!" she begged. But Chisholm dropped the charm on the ground and turned away. Her last scream echoed in the room like thunder. Then silence. Total silence. When he turned around, she was gone. Only dust remained. Dust and gold ashes. And a single torn photo. Of her. As a young girl. Holding hands with a boy. Smiling. The red room was silent. The flames from the candles had gone out on their own. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of something burnt. But there was no fire, no ashes on the walls, nothing broken, except the altar. It was split down the middle like a cracked shell. And in the center of it, the dust of Madame Kimi was scattered in a small circle. Her gold robe lay in a heap beside it. Chisholm didn't move for a while. He stood there, staring at the spot where she vanished. His breathing was slow and heavy. His whole body was sweating, but his fingers were cold. In his palm, he still held what was left of the torn photo, the one of her and her younger brother, smiling in a time when life was simple. He looked at the picture again. Her face had been so full of light. Now it was just dust. He wanted to feel happy. He wanted to feel safe. But all he felt was empty. "I didn't want to kill her," he whispered. But she gave him no choice. Chisholm stepped out of the red room quietly, expecting the hallway to be filled with guards. But it was empty. No footsteps. No voices. No sounds at all. He walked down slowly, holding the wall for balance. When he got to the staircase, he paused. The mansion suddenly felt colder. The walls looked darker, older. Even the air felt different, like something had shifted. Something heavy had been removed. It was like the house had been holding its breath for years, and now it had finally exhaled. He went to his room and locked the door. He sat on the bed and looked around. There were no photos on the wall anymore. No soft glow from hidden candles. No smell of her perfume in the air. It was just silence. Real silence. By the next morning, the silence was still there. But the house had changed. All the flowers in the hallway had dried up. The air conditioner no longer worked. The lights flickered as if the power was weak. Even the cook, Mama Tina, was nowhere to be found. Chisholm walked slowly to the kitchen. No food. No plates on the table. Nothing cooking on the stove. He walked into the living room. Empty. It was like the whole house had gone to sleep. Forever. "Hello?" he called out. No answer. "Anyone here?" Still nothing. He turned quickly when he heard a soft sound. Footsteps. Fast ones. He faced the stairs. Obinna came rushing down from the top floor, panting, holding a black backpack. "Guy!" he shouted, grabbing Chisholm by the shoulder. "You're alive!" Chisholm froze. "What are you doing here? How did you get in?" Obinna dropped the bag and hugged him tight. "I came last night through the back fence. I've been hiding in the laundry room since. I was scared they caught you already. But when I saw the hallway candles go off, I knew something had changed." Chisholm pulled away, shocked. "You came here alone?" "I had to." Obinna shouted. "You weren't picking your calls. And when Mama Agatha said the charm had worked, I knew something had gone down. I had to see if you made it." Chisholm shook his head slowly, still stunned. "She's gone. Madame Kimi. She's gone." Obinna's eyes widened. "Gone, as in?" "She turned to dust in front of me." Obinna's mouth dropped open. "You actually did it?" Chisholm nodded. "Chinik," Obinna whispered. "You faced her, and you won." "I don't feel like I won," Chisholm muttered. They both sat on the couch. The house creaked around them like it had aged 100 years overnight. "I don't understand," Chisholm said. "Why is the house like this? Why does everything feel old and broken now?" Obinna looked around. Because her power held it all together. The flowers, The lights. Even the air. Now that she's gone, the spell is broken. This is the real state of the house. Chisholm looked at the floor. She was keeping everything alive. Even me. But she was doing it with blood. Bro, Obinna said. With lives. You were next. I know, Chisholm whispered. Suddenly, they heard a loud knock on the front door. Both boys jumped to their feet. Obinna whispered, "Did anyone see you last night?" No. The knock came again. Harder. Chisholm moved closer to the window and peeked through the curtain. 3 men stood at the gate, dressed in black. One of them wore a cap and held something that looked like a charm. His eyes were scanning the compound. Obinna's voice trembled. "Who are they?" Chisholm whispered, I think they're from her circle. People who knew her secret." "You mean other spirit people?" "I don't know." The knocking turned to banging. Then one of the men shouted, "We know she's inside." Chisholm looked at Obinna. "We have to leave. Now." They ran to the back door, but the lock had melted shut. Obinna cursed under his breath. "They already placed a seal here." "We'll climb the fence," Chisholm said. They grabbed the backpack and dashed to the backyard. The wall was high, but a stack of bricks leaned against one side. They began to climb. But before Chisholm could reach the top, a loud voice called out from behind, "Turn around slowly." They turned. One of the men stood with a black staff in his hand. His eyes glowed faintly, just like Madame Kimi's did. "Where is she?" he asked calmly. Chisholm stepped forward. "She's gone." The man's face didn't move. "Gone where?" "She's dust," Chisholm said. "I broke the altar." The man stared for a long time. Then he said something strange. "It wasn't supposed to be this way." "She wanted to stop," Chisholm said. "No," the man replied. "She was chosen. She was meant to continue." "She didn't want to," Chisholm shouted. The man lowered his staff. "Then you've started something you don't understand." He turned and walked away. As fast as he came, he disappeared into the trees beyond the wall. Chisholm and Obinna looked at each other. Obinna whispered, "What does that mean?" "I don't know," Chisholm said. "But we're leaving this house. Today." They finally jumped the fence and ran into the street. The sky was already bright. Cars were moving. People were shouting. It felt strange to hear the normal sounds of life again. They didn't stop running until they reached the bus park. Chisholm sat on the bench, sweating and shaking. Obinna bought him cold water. He drank it all at once. Obinna sat beside him. "What now?" "I don't know," Chisholm replied. "You can't go back to your uncle's house. He'll only drag you into another mess." "I don't want to go back there," Chisholm said. "Then come to my place. My mother will ask questions, but she's kind. She won't turn you away." Chisholm nodded slowly. "Okay." They entered the next bus heading toward Obinna's side of town. As the bus moved, Chisholm looked out the window. His hand still held the last piece of the torn photo. He didn't know why he kept it, but a part of him couldn't throw it away. Later that night, Chisholm lay on a small mat in Obinna's room. The fan creaked above him. He stared at the ceiling. "She said she didn't want to hurt me," he whispered. Obinna looked at him, but she still tried. "I think she was tired," Chisholm said. "Tired of living forever." "Then maybe you helped her." Chisholm blinked. "How?" "You gave her what no one else did," Obinna said. "A real choice." Chisholm stayed in Obinna's house for 5 days. It was small, a 2-bedroom flat with brown floors and cream-colored walls. Obinna shared a room with his younger brother, and his mother, mariage, slept in the other room. When Chisholm first arrived, she didn't ask too many questions. She only looked at him closely and said, "You look like someone who just came out of a grave." He didn't laugh, because it was true. Each night, he struggled to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he would see the red room, the candles, the altar, and sometimes he would hear her voice, soft, calm, broken. "I didn't want this, Chisholm." He would wake up sweating, heart beating fast. But Obinna never complained. He just stayed close and listened whenever Chisholm needed to talk. On the 6th day, mariage finally sat down beside Chisholm after dinner. She said, "My son tells me you went through something big." Chisholm nodded. "I don't know what it is," she continued, "and I don't need to know. But God kept you alive for a reason. Don't waste that." Chisholm looked at her. "I don't know who I am anymore." "You are a boy who survived," she said. "And boys who survive are stronger than they think." Then she stood and walked into her room. Her words stayed with him. The next morning, Chisholm woke up early. He didn't shake. He didn't feel weak. He stood up, dressed in one of Obinna's old shirts, and stepped outside into the morning sun. The street was already busy. Women were sweeping. A man was frying a kara at the corner. Children were walking to school in white shirts and blue shorts. Life had moved on. And now, he had to move with it. By noon, he and Obinna walked to the park and sat under a mango tree. Chisholm brought out the last piece of the photo from his pocket. It was wrinkled now, faded, but still whole enough to see her smile. Obinna looked at it. "You've been holding that thing since day one." Chisholm nodded. "I don't know why. Maybe it's your way of remembering." "Remembering what?" Chisholm asked. "That I married a woman who almost killed me? That I destroyed someone who had lived longer than this country?" Obinna didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe it's not just about her. Maybe it's also about you." Chisholm looked at him. "You're not the same boy who was selling sachet water at the park," Obinna said. "That boy is gone." "Who am I now?" Chisholm asked. "You're someone who knows how far darkness can go," Obinna said. "But you also know how to walk out of it." Later that evening, Chisholm and Obinna walked back home and found a small crowd outside the gate. A white van was parked in front, with the letters Property Recovery Unit printed on the side. Obinna asked one of the neighbors, "What's happening?" The woman pointed at the van. They said one big house in GRA vanished overnight. The whole land is just dry sand now, like the house never existed. Chisholm's stomach turned. He asked, "Which house?" The woman looked at him. "One big white mansion owned by one strange madam. I think they said her name was Kimi or something like that." Chisholm's heart skipped. Obinna whispered, "The house disappeared." Chisholm nodded slowly. That house was never real. It was part of her power. "And now she's gone," Obinna said. "So the house went with her." They walked past the crowd silently, but in Chisholm's mind, everything felt loud. That night, Chisholm sat alone on the veranda. The stars above were bright. The air smelled like roasted corn and smoke from faraway fires. Obinna came out and handed him a bottle of water. "Thanks," Chisholm said. "You good?" "I think so." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Chisholm said, "I want to do something." "Like what?" "I want to help boys like me. Boys who are poor, forgotten. The ones nobody notices." Obinna looked at him. "That's big." Chisholm nodded. "I know, but someone has to do it." He paused. "She used to say that I had a quiet heart, that I cared too much." Obinna smiled. "Well, that same heart saved your life." "I don't want all of this to end with her dust," Chisholm said. "Something good must come from it." 2 weeks later, Chisholm returned to his village for the first time since the day he left with Madame Kimi. The villagers stared at him as he walked through the narrow paths. Some whispered. Some waved. Others just watched him like they were seeing a ghost. Uncle Zuby was sitting under a tree when Chisholm approached. "Chisholm," he said, standing slowly. You came back." Chisholm looked at him. "You gave me away for money." Uncle Zuby scratched his neck. "I didn't know she was like that." "You didn't care." There was silence. Then Uncle Zuby said, "Are you going to report me?" "No," Chisholm said. "I didn't come for revenge. I came to see Mama Agatha." Uncle Zuby looked away. "She's in her backyard." Chisholm walked past him without another word. Mama Agatha was sitting by her herbs, grinding something in a bowl. She looked up and smiled softly. "You lived." Chisholm smiled back. "Thanks to you." "No," she said. "Thanks to your heart." He sat beside her. "You were right. She wasn't fully human. But she wasn't fully evil either." Mama Agatha nodded. "That's what makes the world dangerous. Evil that can still cry. Darkness that knows how to smile." "I want to start something," Chisholm said. "Something good." Mama Agatha looked at him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have my blessing." Months passed. Chisholm moved into a small boys' hostel built with help from a local church. He joined a community school and began learning about business, leadership, and communication. Obinna helped him spread the word online. Together, they started a small project called Heart of the Forgotten. The goal was simple: help boys like Chisholm. Give them food, a bed, and hope. Some people laughed at the idea, but many more came forward to help. One by one, boys from the streets started walking in. One by one, their lives started to change. And every time Chisholm looked at them, he saw parts of himself. But at night, when he sat alone in his small room, he sometimes still opened the box that held the torn photo of Madame Kimi and her brother. He would whisper, "I hope you're at peace now." Then he would close the box and place it back in the drawer. Because even though she brought pain, she also brought purpose. And Chisholm was finally walking in it.